last week was a pivotal moment in shaping not just the geopolitical landscape, but our economic future as well. Events unfolded rapidly. The war between Israel and Iran, escalated tensions in the Middle East, China's aggressive stimulus plans were put into action, and a significant port strike could have caused a lot of ripples across our own supply chains. So let's start with economic and stock market risks, and let's discuss all of this. Now, as the events emerged last week, the volatility in the market actually became pretty evident, and inflation, long thought to be under control, is now starting to make a comeback, especially in areas that we need for all of the different manufacturing and construction. Now, this is really in particular because of some of the elements of China, and they're at a critical junction here because they're entering what's called lead 2, and this is characterized by the economic growth that's starting to happen and a rise of inflation. Now, this environment is where stimulus really works well, and it really actually helps them to increase their overall economy, but also commodity prices start to surge. So we're starting to see that with steel and copper and many different areas that are already starting to climb with all these industrial impacts. And what's happening is we have a renewed demand there as well. So we have the issues with China and what they're doing in causing some inflation, but then we have all of the different elements that mathematically are starting to suggest that inflation is bottomed and now starting to creep up. And then we also have the ongoing war between Israel and Iran. And what's happening there is that it's really starting to affect oil prices. And you're starting to see those soar, especially as supplies become more uncertain. Now, this may or may not continue, but what we do know is that lead 3 right now, where we're at in our economy, is really characterized by a slowing of economic growth and an increase of inflation, is really where oil starts to go up in price, as well as energy. And these tensions only amplify all the fears that inflation could actually start to pick up and start to increase over the next number of months. So yes, all the shortages, all the things like that are really making the markets anxious. Well, let's turn our attention to portfolio changes then, because with all of this economic activity that's going on, with all of the uncertainties out there with the war, with the information from China and the port strikes, let's actually talk about what could be working. And that's where we can be actually pivoting towards commodities, which can include energy. Now, this right now actually presents a really strong opportunity. And as we transition into the lead 3 environment, where we have the growth slowing, but we have a rising inflation. Again, this is not just something that is a thought process, but the math behind it is starting to suggest the rate of change is slowing on the downside and will start to pick up. So commodities, but also gold shines right now in this particular bright times. And this is really what happens when we need a safe haven against inflation. So you start to see gold pick up, and you may want to actually start considering adding commodities and gold to your portfolios to really round out your diversification well. As a part of every plan, let's talk about wealth management and advanced planning. Now, here it currently offers some great opportunities to improve your overall plan. Recent IRS developments have really highlighted some of the concerns around required minimum distributions, and especially for inherited IRA accounts. Now, this is really significant, and for the eligible designated beneficiaries, or what they describe it as EDBs, who are not spouses, and particularly who are disabled, so IRAs that are inherited, for your required minimum distributions if you are disabled and not a spouse, this needs immediate attention. Now, these new regulations and the final laws have really come out over the last couple of months, and so what they're actually starting to say is that there's a significant shift from the past couple of years. And what this does is it allows you, if you are disabled, to take your required minimum distributions over your lifetime rather than adhering to the newly established 10-year rule. So this is actually very helpful. So if you are disabled, this means that you can have a better strategy then for your withdrawals in a manner that aligns with your unique financial needs and circumstances, which enhances your control over your financial future. However, this is what is really important here, that all of the necessary documents that prove that you are disabled must be submitted to the custodian that you have all of your assets at by October 31st to ensure all of the compliance with these new regulations and laws. And if you fail to do this, this could actually be something that leads to unfavorable tax consequences and possibly missing out on this opportunity completely to really maximize the benefits that you have under this framework. So that's where it's vital that if you are disabled and have inherited IRA accounts, that you place all of those documents in the hands of your custodian begin by October 31st. Well, let's actually talk about another element as well, our stress test service. Now, this is always available to you. If you are looking for clarity among all of the uncertainty out there, not only with your portfolio, but things like the required minimum distributions as part of your inherited accounts or other elements of your overall wealth plan, we encourage you to seek our complimentary stress test service. Now, we'll conduct a thorough discovery meeting that allows us to assess where you're currently at and then identify any gaps that may exist in your current plan. So as you would like to go through that and potentially find ways to improve your plan by filling those gaps, please click the link below and we'll be happy to set up that complimentary stress test of your wealth plan today. With that, take care.